he's about halfway through one. He's talking about masculinity, and it's I like old Bill Moore. Always has. I'm gonna restart it and let you hear it from the beginning. So
and finally, new rule: if there's one thing we've learned from the crisis in Ukraine, it's that everyone loves and the world still needs grown-ass men. Thank you. Guys, look, you can go on about how masculinity is itself toxic, or you can be horny for Vladimir Zelensky, but you can't do both. If you haven't noticed, the internet these days is filled with posts like, every woman in your life now has at least a small crush on Zelensky, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. If I'm being honest, Zelensky gives me a lady boner. Badassery is
Bill Moore's crazy, man.
I want to bang Zelensky. Could it be that as much as women may want to create the perfect man, there's always going to be a little bit of toxic mixed in with our masculinity, and no amount of training will turn us into your favorite Twilight character? Masculinity is like coffee. Even when you decaffeinate it, there's still a little caffeine in there. Now, there's certainly no denying that there has been a lot of toxicity associated with men throughout history. Oceans of brutality. All
right about Bill Moore, he's on.
And some of which is why our species still exists.
That's why he's surviving.
There are brave women fighting in Ukraine, but the images of people fleeing all seem to be women and children, while every able-bodied man in Ukraine is sticking around to fight and maybe die. It's not always a great advantage being a man.
Nope.
And toxic though we may be, we do sometimes come in handy. As much as you may not want to admit it, there's a direct correlation between all these lady boners for Zelensky and the fact that he's what people used to call a man's man. He can't share right now. He's killing Russians. Turns out after 200,000 years, there's still a lot of another tribe is coming to kill us. And when that happens, you want a little big dick energy. People magazine's search for sexiest man of 2022 is already over. Last year's winner was cuter, but this guy gets women actually hot. So maybe now would be a good time for relationship gurus to stop saying that women just want a man who will listen. Because Zelensky, he's not just listening, he's fixing the problem. This is something I've heard for years, that women just want a man who listens. Don't try to fix their problems. Put that to the test sometime. Go over to her house tomorrow and fix her radiator. I bet she loves it. When there's a noise downstairs, someone has to go into the dark. And most women, yes, still want a man to do it. And if he doesn't, or can't, or won't, it's not sexy. Ooh, a guy who can't perform, I'm melting. No, you want the guy who says, I don't need a ride, I need ammunition. Because I'm John Wick. Who you also want to fuck. And that's why we owe such a debt of gratitude to Zelensky. Forget making America great again. He's making America grind again. I'd say wives are calling out his name during sex, but they aren't, because wives aren't having sex, or husbands, or singles. Researchers have found that Americans across the board are at a 30-year low for sex. Half of Americans don't even have it once a month. 44% of adolescent males say they don't even masturbate. Males? What, are they afraid to touch their own dicks because a gym sock can't give consent? Since the 1980s, American men have literally been losing their testosterone, with average levels declining by about 1% per year, along with declining sperm counts. One in 4 American adults have not had any sex in the past year, and you thought California was in a drought. The question is why? Why this sex drought? Well, I think the answer might be that men are such pussies now that actual pussies want nothing to do with them. It's the result of having it drilled into us in recent years that masculinity is itself toxic and scary and unevolved, and women don't like it. And the ones who think they do, they really don't. And if you think you do, you're wrong too. What do you know about you? I think you're probably committing a microaggression against yourself right now. You owe you an apology. Even the act of just asking a girl out is now seen by many younger people as overly aggressive. There's a feeling that the attributes traditionally characteristic of men are inherently problematic, which sounds a lot like men are born wrong. Type the phrase "men are trash" into Etsy, and you can purchase a slew of swag with that phrase on it. When the Obama administration was trying to sell Obamacare to a skeptical nation, they made an ad featuring someone who became famous as Pajama Boy. This is what they put out as an image of the perfect man. The only thing he loves more than affordable health insurance is his therapy cat and Emily in Paris. That ad might as well say, ask your doctor if chemical castration is right for you. Women have come a long way, baby, and the vast majority of that has been long overdue and very, very positive. But maybe in this one way, you're a victim of your own success. You can win the battle and lose the war if you harangue men into becoming less like us and more like you, and end up with someone you have absolutely no desire to fuck. And that's not good for either of the 71 genders we now have. Maybe what we need these days is more sex and less gender. Women aren't attracted to these girly men they've created. The guy you whipped into total sensitivity isn't sexy to you anymore. There's a special place in a woman's heart for a man who learns to suppress his masculinity. It's called the friend zone. And men, this is ultimately on you. She's not holding a gun to your head and making you a pussy. It's always your choice. Stop sulking. Stop complaining that it's hard to get laid. Oh, you poor incels. Girls don't want to have sex with you unless you put in a little effort. So put in a little effort, you stupid, lazy fucks. And finally, new rule, Apple needs to think different about our privacy. Apple, the company that made it possible for men to show their women their dicks from thousands of miles away, is releasing an update that will allow them to hack into your phone without your consent, to snoop through all your pictures just in case you're a pedophile. Or as Matt Gaetz put it, I'm switching to Samsung. Now, let me be clear. I'm against pedophilia. That's why I joined QAnon. But nosing through everybody's private photo stash is casting an awfully wide, intrusive net. It's like if the company that sold you a safe said, oh, and we're going to stop by sometimes when you're not home to make sure you're not keeping naked pictures of kids in it. Our phones should be like our wallets or purses, private. What about probable cause? What about the Fourth Amendment? This is the very definition of unreasonable search and seizure, which can and will be abused to find evidence of other illegal stuff on our phones. In my case, drugs. Now, again, I think child pornography is bad, and I don't care who knows it. But it's also not a trump card you can pull out that makes all our other rights disappear. Thank you. And I don't see a very strong fight brewing against this blatant constitutional breach. And I think it's because we're so dependent on smartphones now that we will let them do anything to us. Apple should admit that the problem with their phones isn't just what people might store on them. It's the phones themselves. Today's phones make people assholes. Full stop.
I agree with him.
And I know whenever someone starts in on how evil smartphones are, there's always a pat answer coming back about how people have always freaked out about the latest technology corrupting young minds. Come on, they said it about radio and the telephone and TV. Yeah, it sounds like that argument might be right, but it's not. It's not. Not if you think about it for 2 seconds. I don't remember lugging a TV under my covers so I could watch Huckleberry Hound until the screen asked me, "Are you still watching?" I looked forward to seeing I Dream of Jeannie once a week, but it didn't throw off my circadian rhythm. I liked McHale's Navy. I wasn't addicted to it. I didn't watch it when I drove.
I like McGill's Navy.
Radio to
Everything
TV
he's had
is a
said
difference
thus
in
far.
degree. Smartphones are a difference in kind. Less like TV or radio, more like a pacemaker. You know, something you can't live without. No other device has ever commanded our constant attention the way the smartphone does. Of course, when I was a teenager, I had a princess phone.
Yeah, then. I wouldn't just blow some
But I
of
didn't stare
his
at it
level.
hours a day.
So, and he don't like Donald Trump.
There was no hardcore pornography on my family's 24-inch Zenith television set, sadly. And we didn't have to worry that maybe my sister was on the landline with a strange man who was posing as another teenager but was really 50. A former VP at Facebook said he felt tremendous guilt because the short-term, dopamine-driven feedback loops that we have created are destroying how society works. Yet TV didn't do that. Psychology Today says the average high school kid has the same level of anxiety as the average psychiatric patient in the early 1950s. And that's directly related to social media. Increasingly, studies are linking phones to not just anxiety, but depression, bullying, hate speech, fake news, sleep disturbance, relationship problems, and photographs of knees on the beach. TV didn't do all that either. And TV didn't turn people into assholes. Shady, needy, passive-aggressive, mean, and fake. Fake outraged, fake brave, fake pretty, fake supportive. Phones make people fake their lives instead of living their lives. It's more important to get a picture of you looking like you're having a good time than actually having a good time. And the pathetic addiction to likes. Did I like my picture of lunch? Maybe it wasn't good enough. Does that mean I'm not good enough? Phones have ruined self-esteem, comedy clubs, concerts, childhood, attention span, sleep cycles, using toilet time to reflect. And falling off cliffs. Oh, and dating, which has been reduced from a quest for true love to looking at a menu. I think I'll have the Kelly tonight. Phones make people bullies, angrier, more vitriolic, more racist online than they would ever dream of being if they had to say those things to someone's face. The phone made us passive-aggressive to our friends and hyper-aggressive to total strangers. It has two settings. I'll kill you, or you're dead to me. Not that if you're dead to me was the message you wanted to send to someone, you'd even bother sending it, because even texting is too confrontational for most people now. We don't engage with our friends when we disagree, we just walk away. Don't like something, delete it. Don't want to talk to someone, don't reply. Just ghost them. Ghosting. It's the electronic equivalent of going out for a pack of smokes and never coming back.
I did that.
Cell phones have obliterated courtesy, the fundamental building block of developing any real relationship. We all see it, groups of friends out together in a car or eating in a restaurant, and they're all staring down at their phones. Imagine how rude that would be if instead of a phone, you brought a magazine to the table and read it during dinner with a friend. Many is the night I've wanted to say to someone, can you just put the phone down for a minute? After all, we haven't seen each other in weeks, and we're having sex.
Okay. All right, bro, so now let's see here.
And finally, someone has to tell me, why is this guy always in the doghouse with the online hall monitors of righteousness? It is a phenomenon that truly fascinates me, that every couple of years, Matt Damon, one of the most likable guys in Hollywood with impeccable liberal credentials, is again flailing around in cancel culture quicksand. It happened again this month when Damon revealed that he used to use a gay slur. I won't say the word, but it's the one your teenage son greets his friends with when they meet up at Chipotle.
What's that, Claire?
It's not always meant as a slur, but it's wrong, yes, of course. And Damon owned up, saying that while coming of age in Boston in the 70s and 80s, that word was thrown around without any thought put into it. And now he's put some thought into it, and he's going to stop using it. One might say he became woke. Okay, he was late to the party, to which we could say, welcome, glad you could make it. Or we could say, you came later than I did, die. There are too many people in this country who are motivated not by what they really believe, but by what will get Twitter to react to them with likes and retweets. That's called bad faith. It's why every couple of years I'm reading headlines like, USA Today, I wish I could cancel Matt Damon. Washington Post, Matt Damon has more Damon-splaining to do. Daily Beast, shut up, Matt Damon. Vox, Matt Damon isn't a terrible person, he's just ignorant. Really? That bad, is he? We're talking about Matt Damon? I don't know, he's got a clean water charity and delivers food to Haiti. What have you done, Vox headline writer? And yet he's always getting pulled over by the woke police for something. He's got a woke rap sheet as long as your arm. On the reboot of the Project Greenlight series, he was booked on obstruction of civil justice for maintaining that a director should be chosen on merit first. But merit first is not synonymous with racism. Thinking that it is, that's kind of racist. In 2015, Damon did hard time in Twitter jail on 2 counts of accessory to homophobia for saying that actors do well when they keep their private lives private so that audiences can watch the character on the screen without thinking about the caricature from the tabloids, and that includes your sexuality, which is true. One of the reasons I love Daniel Day-Lewis is I'm not sure he even exists off screen. But in Wokeville, somehow that became gay actors should go back in the closet, which is not what he said. But the verdict was in, and he was sentenced to appear on Ellen.
The ship is on fire!
But here's how unhomophobic Matt Damon is. He fucked Liberace. 2016, the movie The Great Wall opened, and Damon was brought up on charges of whitewashing in the third degree. Whitewashing being when filmmakers cast white actors for parts meant for people of color, which is exactly what he was not doing. His role was never meant for a Chinese actor. In fact, it was a Chinese-made movie targeted primarily to the Chinese audience that was purposefully using his white ass so the movie would have crossover appeal here. Nevertheless, when I heard about this, I immediately replaced Matt's poster over my bed with Chris Evans. In 2017, in the early days of the Me Too movement, Damon was locked up in Alcatraz on a charge of aggravated mansplaining during a reckoning and was sentenced to not less than 1 year of having to shut the fuck up. See, what happened was during an interview where Damon called the Me Too movement wonderful and a watershed moment, he added that sexual misconduct involved a spectrum of behavior and that there was a difference between patting someone on the butt and rape. True, undeniable, and unforgivable. Even though the legal system has always differentiated degrees for crimes, even murder. Oh, Matt. And for our final rule tonight, it's time for another edition of one of our favorite departments here on Real Time, explaining jokes to idiots. Where as a public service, I break down jokes for the humor impaired. Not that I have anyone particular in mind. Now, I know we're all sick of talking about the slap, but I'm sorry, one more thing needs to be said. Comedians have been under attack for quite some time, and I need to stick up for my tribe. This war on jokes must end. So tonight, let's Zapruder film this thing once and for all and explain jokes to idiots. Now, at the Oscars, Chris Rock came out to present a boring award and first did what he is supposed to do, get some laughs doing what we comics call crowd work. Denzel and Javier Bardem each got spritzed. And then Chris made what in the business is known as a "some shit is like some other shit" joke. He said to Jada Smith, "Jada can't wait for G.I. Jane 2, recalling the late 90s movie starring Demi Moore. That's it. That's the joke. You remind me of some other beautiful, buzz-cutted movie star. It wasn't an alopecia joke any more than the one about the chicken crossing the road is about bird flu." Not an insult, although insult humor is also a staple of comedy. And in fact, an example of insulting someone's looks was on display that night when Regina Hall said, "We've been dealing with COVID for 2 years. It's been really hard on people." And Amy Schumer said, "Yeah, just look at Timothy Chalamet," and they cut to J.K. Simmons. Who made a face a lot like the one Jada would make later on. But that's where it ended. It's called being a good sport, especially when you're a rich celebrity. Let the common people take the piss out of you for one stinking minute. And importantly, Chris's joke was received as funny, as evidenced by the audience and Will Smith laughing. And this is the moment where we got to see a live-action, real-time encapsulation of how cancel culture works. Look at what happens next. Jada shoots her husband a look. Let's slow the tape down to capture this moment. There. Back and to the left. Back and to the left. Back and to the left. Before this moment, Will is laughing because he hasn't yet found out that his original, genuine reaction is wrong and that he should conform to a different view. And he's the one who's being manly? I've seen the same syndrome happen in comedy clubs. Woke hecklers who literally have to wait for the laughter to die down before they yell, "That's not funny." This war on jokes must end. Will Smith didn't get kicked out of the Oscars for going Ike Turner on Chris, but Kevin Hart got kicked out of hosting it for a joke. Who are these people who say cancel culture isn't a real thing? Just among comedians who've gotten fired and lost gigs for exercising their freedom of expression, the toll is high. Gilbert Gottfried and Kathy Griffin were tasteless. So what? That's why we like them. Comedians are the ones testing where the line is. We can't always be perfect any more than Tom Brady will never throw an interception. Dave Chappelle lost distribution for his documentary, and Sarah Silverman was fired from a film over an old sketch where she wore blackface to make fun of racism. Roseanne lost the TV show she created with her name on it over tweets that were very offensive, but not at all clear Roseanne knew them to be. She is crazy, and I say that as a friend. All comedians are a little crazy, and you need crazy on that wall. Will Smith wasn't pulled off stage, but comedian Nimesh Patel was literally pulled off stage during a performance at Columbia for a joke about how hard it is to be gay and black. Not an anti-gay joke, mind you, a pro-gay joke. But one of the event organizers walked on stage and said, "I don't think you're entitled to certain jokes you're making." Well, a sense of entitlement certainly is a big part of the problem here, but not on the part of the comedian. And that's the thing. The people who can't take a joke now aren't old ladies in the Bible Belt. They're Gen Z at elite colleges. Colleges where comedy goes to die. Kids used to go to college and lose their virginity. Now they go to lose their sense of humor. Vice recently interviewed college bookers who revealed that before a comedian even takes the stage, they're asked to edit out anything from their act that may cause offense, leaving a world where more and more topics are off limits, and soon there'll be nothing left to joke about except airline food and Starbucks getting your name wrong. Judd Apatow has an awesome new documentary coming here to HBO about George Carlin, owner of the most famous 180 in comedy history, when he turned his back on a lucrative career in nightclubs in order to let his hair down and be himself in front of a younger crowd who welcomed irreverence. In 1970, George said, "I gotta go to colleges. I belong with people who are open and will let me be myself and experiment. Oh, George. It's a good thing you're dead. Because today, the 7 words you can't say on TV are Jada, can't wait for G.I. Jane 2. For all those who are constantly demanding an apology for jokes, maybe it's you who should apologize to us. For all the great jokes that we never got to hear, the brilliant thoughts that were never uttered, those are the invisible scars of cancel culture. Let's have a moment of silence for that and a spot in the in memoriam package. For all the viable jokes that could have lived but were aborted because a voice in someone's head said, "Are you sure you want to risk saying that?" That's self-censorship, the worst kind of all. But you will get none of that on my new HBO special. It's called Adulting, and it premieres in this time slot a week from tonight. As the kids say, it's fire. And finally, new rule, before we tackle any of our daunting specific problems here in America, we have to figure out how a country can solve any problem if so many of its people are so intractably, astoundingly, mind-numbingly stupid. And I'm not saying that as hyperbole or just out of frustration. I mean this country just might be empirically, verifiably too fucking dumb to continue as an ongoing enterprise. Jay Leno used to do a classic bit called Jaywalking, where he asked ordinary citizens the kind of question we used to consider common knowledge. And in the internet age, that bit has been, shall we say, updated. And is still a useful indicator of where exactly we are on the bird brain chart. Take a look at some of the answers given on a TikTok site called Project Better.
Who was the first person to land on the sun?
Lance
Armstrong is correct. What is the biggest city in the world?
I think it's like
a
Asia?
What is the biggest city in the world?
Europe.
If you were born in 2021, how old would you be?
21.
What country is Venice, Italy located in for $100? Do you have any clue?
Gosh, I'm going to be a teacher, so I should know this.
You should.
Paris?
Where is Queen Elizabeth from?
Egypt.
Egypt?
Egypt.
Where is it?
Brazil?
So you tell me, if a country is only as strong as its people, what can the future possibly hold for a population this moronic? Being a full-grown adult and thinking a human could walk on the sun? Or that the biggest city in the world was Asia? When plainly it's Europe. This country simply has no education standards anymore. They will let you out of a public high school and give you a diploma, and you don't have to actually know anything, which used to be the mission of schools, knowing things. I know it's super important to stop the grooming of our kids, or, I don't know, to start it. And certainly critical race theory must be stricken from the curriculum, or who knows, maybe included in all of it. But, you know, while we're having those fights, could someone please notice that the kids don't actually know anything? As I travel this country on weekends doing stand-up now, I see the political ads that are running on the local TV markets, and I think, how can this possibly work on people? And then I remember, oh yes, they think Queen Elizabeth is from Egypt. When again, plainly, it's Brazil. Political campaigns used to turn out two kinds of ads. The positive, or what I like to call the village people ad, where you're seen with a cop, a construction worker, a military guy, and a minority. And then the negative ads, the ones that look like they were shot by Navy SEALs wearing night vision goggles, where you make your opponent look like someone who killed their spouse on an episode of Dateline. But now it seems they figured out that the people are dumb enough that you can put the positive and the negative in the same ad. Here's one we see in LA 100 times a day for Congressperson Young Kim.
8 times in a row, politician Greg Raths increased our tax rates and fees. Just like Biden and the liberals, Raths makes California unaffordable. Greg Raths even proposed raising his taxpayer salary over 60%. We pay more, he makes more. That's politician Greg Raths. But Young Kim is fighting Raths and the liberals.
That's right, I'm Young Kim, and unlike my opponent, I'm in color. Come on, don't you want your representative to be in color? As opposed to an X-ray?
Okay, brother.